Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our 2017 Crossing Newfoundland by ATV trip video series. In this video, I'm going to show you how we went from Clarenville to Gander. Now this is the third day overall in our trip, but it's only the second day on the trail. I'm going to show you here on my website. I'm going to click on the GPS and map section. Then I'm going to click over here on the map picture, and it'll bring it up in another window. It'll do the same for you if you go to my website. Now here's the entire island. I'm just going to go over here and get the legend out of the way by collapsing the legend so you can see the whole map. So we started the day in Clarenville. I'm just going to zoom in here on Clarenville. If you watched our video from yesterday, you'll know that 6 of us stayed at St. Jude's Hotel, and the other 6 of us stayed over here at Shoal Harbor Pond. Now, we left the pond, took this purple trail here back to the main rail bed, which is colored in blue, and we waited for the other fellas to catch up to us in the hotel. We headed west, and then we took a little pit stop where this camera icon is here. If you click on that, you'll see over here it's a waterfall. You can click on the picture, and it'll show you what the waterfall looks like. This is from a few years ago, and there's a few pictures here. Now there's 3 waterfalls there all together, believe it or not, when you get to this section. If it's a really nice day, depending on what time of the year you go there, in the summer, the waterfall is right here. You can get out and go in the water. It's pretty nice. And if you don't mind exploring or hiking a bit, you follow this trail in. There's a second waterfall up here. I think it's about here, and then you keep going in, and then there's another third one, which is way up here, I believe. So it's actually quite nice if you don't mind taking half an hour or so to do a little bit of hiking up there. The next thing we did after we left there, we headed all the way up to Port Blandford to get some gas. There's kind of 2 ways you can get to the gas station in Port Blandford. Once you come to this intersection here, you can just follow this road in on this purple line, which is almost exactly 1 kilometer long, or you can follow this orange trail here, which takes you through the woods, and it's more fun than just riding the highway, but it's not nearly as easy as taking this secondary road here. There's usually some mud and water and so forth in here. If you want to see both, you can, on your way up, take this road into the gas station and take the orange trail out, which is what we did this year. So then after we got gas, we stopped at Terra Nova National Park, where this little picnic table icon here is on my map. This is really a nice spot, and by the time you get here, it'll probably be lunch or close to lunch. This is a bridge right here, and right after the bridge, you take this little trail. It takes you into this open field in a clearing in here, and that's a really great spot if you brought your own food or a little barbecue even to set up. And actually, you can see the water here, a bit of the waterfall in the picture. And here's a better one. I'll blow up a picture from the bridge from a few years ago. So, we usually stay there for 45 minutes or so, and then we head west again on the trail. And let's see here. The next stop for us would be Gambo. Sometimes we stop right on the trail too, just for if we want to break to talk to each other and stuff. But if you zoom in really close to the town of Gambo here, you'll see there's a gas station back here, right off the rail. And then there's a little pub in here called the Trailway Pub and Eatery. And if you click on that little icon I put in here with the glass, you can see what the outside of the building looks like. They also have a nice patio on the back. There it is there in that picture. So if it's a nice day and you don't mind sitting out there, if you want to have a drink before you get back on the trail to head to Gander, it's probably about another hour drive to Gander from here. They have this patio and it has a nice view of the water. And then if you continue heading west along the trail, here's Gander. Now as soon as you get into Gander, you're going to pass the airport here. If you're hungry and you want something to eat, and you probably will be, depending on where you're staying, there's a restaurant right here called Rosie's, which I have marked. They have great food in there, and the service is really good. This purple line actually kind of takes you through town, but it is considered the rail bed. There's a Walmart here and so forth, so if you need to stop there to get some supplies. This year, what me and my friends did is we stayed down here at the Comfort Inn. So what we did is we followed this trail right here, and this is a paved piece of trail going through here, this green line. And then we take this orange trail. It's not really a trail, it's a road. It's a paved road through an industrial park, but it's only about 800 meters. And once you get to the end of it, you're going to come to an intersection, And actually, instead of having to ride on the road, just before you get to the main intersection at the highway, you'll see this trail right here. Follow that, and it'll take you right into the parking lot of, there's an A&W restaurant, an Esso gas station, and the Comfort Inn Motel is right here. And attached to the Comfort Inn Motel is a Jungle Jim's restaurant. They have pretty good food in there too. So if you want to wait till you get to the Comfort Inn, if that's where you're going, you can go in there and get something to eat. Or there's a Mary Brown's fried chicken right next to it, and so forth. And then the next day, of course, we head back out, jump on the trail, and head to Badger. But I'll talk about that in another video. For those of us that were camping, this was our campsite the next morning. Usually what we do is we get up, pack up all of our gear, put everything away, make sure everything's secured nicely on the bike so nothing falls off, and we don't want to leave anything behind. We always pack everything out. Everything we take in, we take out with us. Now, first thing this morning, you can see by the picture of the tent here, it got a little windy that night, and I didn't put any tent pegs down in mine. I just threw all the gear in because it was heavy enough to keep it in place, but it got a little deformed, as you can see from the picture. And just before we were about to leave, Bruce noticed that he had a flat on his back left tire on his Can-Am Commander, which was really unfortunate because he had just bought a brand new set of Blackwater Evolution tires, and here's a bit of a video of him fixing it up.
Oh, I hate putting this in that tire. It's a nice new tire. Which way did it go? I think it's not turning. Good tires. Good thing this is a good one. Thank you. Okay. You just burn me. I don't always burn them, but. Right.
Okay, we got Bruce's tire all fixed up, and then we headed down the beach here to the trail that brought us into the lake here. That trail is probably a few kilometers. It was kind of fun. You had grass on either side, and it was mostly sand and a bit of gravel. This trail took us out to a main road, which is wide enough gravel road for vehicles, and we were able to get some good speeds up on that because the road was in nice condition. And then just before we got out, we found this gravel pit, or kind of a mixture of gravel and sand pit, I guess. Like, a fellas played around for a bit because we had some time to kill before we waited for the guys at the hotel to catch up to us. Okay, this is one of those sections where we decided to just play around a bit, and the trail is in such good shape here and on the other road that we get up to that we can get up to some high speeds. And you know, I've had people ask me, do you have to drive that fast all day to get to where you're going in the Newfoundland trip? And the answer is absolutely not. If you read through my blog, I explain on there too, really, if you're averaging maybe 35 to 40 kilometers an hour throughout the day, that's all you need to do to get from point A to point B every day to get this trip done. And basically that's pretty much what we do all the time too, but every now and then, like I said, on straight stretches like this, we kind of open it up a little bit just to have a little bit of fun, but we don't drive like that all day. So this is the first waterfall of this section where I told you where there was 3. You actually have to climb up those rocks to get up to the other sections. This one is right off the trail and right next to the Trans-Canada Highway, so you can probably hear traffic going by in the background.
Trying him rough? Not good.
This bridge that we're on here is about 150 meters long. It's one of the longer ones that we cross on the trip. And it's going over the Southwest River. We're just pulling into Port Blandford here. If you remember earlier, I told you there was two ways you could get in to the gas station there. One is following a trail through the woods, or one is going on a road. So we opted to take the road in right up here. It's about a kilometer ride in right here. And then on the way back out, we took the trail. We usually get in here, we get some gas, a bottle of water, a Red Bull or something like that, and then we usually sit around for about 15 minutes and talk and then hit the trail again. Okay, this is the trail that takes you into the gas station, or away from the gas station back to the rail bed. It's a much shorter distance. It's probably only half or 2/3 of the road, but it takes you even longer just because it's slow going. Now it's fun, like we always like going this way because it's a little more challenging. And a little farther up the trail here, depending on what the weather's been like. Sometimes you can get some deep water and a little bit of mud, so if that's not for you, you probably want to stick to the road, but really it's nothing that you probably couldn't get through in two-wheel drive. It looks worse than it is here. The GoPro camera that I'm using, I have on my chin and my helmet right now, and I'm always surprised when I watch the video back that I hear other people talking back to me a little bit. You can kind of hear it, it's muffled, but the speakers for the Bluetooth headsets are up inside the helmet, up by my ears, and I'm surprised at all that you can hear what Bill's saying.
It does seem much nicer than it used to be. Yeah. Yeah, I'm in low.
Bill's going to be the guinea pig here. There was a lot of rain, so the mud hole here looks pretty deep, but actually I don't think it turned out to be too bad at all.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw that. I'll just say I was following the leader. Oh yeah, I'll drive the wheel over it.
Okay, just to give you a quick recap here, this is the bridge that we just went over, and short distance after the bridge was that road we drove up, and then that road is 1.04 kilometers. This is the trail we took back out, and it's 500 meters, so about half that distance. Then we get to the trail back to the rail bed, and then our next stop here will be Terra Nova National Park. And this is the little spot I was telling you about earlier where you cross a bridge. There's a little waterfall here, and there's a great little picnic area here.
I don't know. No, you go ahead. I'm assuming we're all together. Hopefully they are. I can't tell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Unfortunately, this day was one of the days where we had rain. It's not that big a deal, really, as long as you're dressed for it. You get lots of water holes, and you have to wipe your helmet off here and there. If you've got an ATV with a windscreen on the front, you're definitely going to want to have Rain-X on there. I even put it on my helmet. If you're going fast enough, the water beads right off. But this section of the trail, there's lots of whoops, as you can see, and sometimes they fill with water and they make some pretty big puddles to splash through. We kind of like that stuff for us. We don't mind that, but some people do. You can also see here in this section of the trail that the alder brushes are growing in quite far. You just have to make sure on sections of trail like this when you're going around the corners and curves that you slow down a bit, because sometimes they're so narrow that you can't see very far ahead to see if people are coming the other direction. This bridge that we're coming up to is the Terra Nova Bridge. It was out last year for 2016, and there was no way across this water. It was too wide and too deep, so you had to take a big detour. It was about, altogether, it was around 40 kilometers. So it was, you know, it added an hour plus to the trip that day. But luckily, uh, late in the year last year, earlier in 2017, they got this bridge back up and running. So it's good for the snowmobilers, and it's also good for the ATVers. Okay, yeah, you can hear the rain. It's pelting pretty hard now. It would have been really nice this particular day to have the windshield at least in place to keep the rain off. It would have helped us stay a little warmer as well. But I didn't put it on this trip because it's a little hard to see through with the GoPro camera. Plus, if it's dry, which it is most days, the dust gets all over it, and then you have to stop off and clean it off. So I didn't want to have to bother to do that. But if I could have stored it someplace, if I could have stored the windshield somehow, I would have brought it to put it on. But I just don't have the space for it. Every now and then we stop just to make sure that everybody is still behind us. This year we had the biggest group ever, 12 guys, 11 machines. So I was worried it might be a little difficult to make sure everyone stayed together, but we had a really, really good group of guys, and everyone stuck together really well. And if anybody had any breakdowns, actually we didn't have any breakdowns. We had a few flats, so if you look in the rearview mirror now and then you didn't see someone for a bit, we'd just stop and we'd wait for them to catch up to us, or sometimes we'd go back.
Right back there where that road went backwards, that's the dirt trail to their gas station. Here's the pub, we're at the pub!
One of the nice things about the pub, other than the obvious of course, is that it's only about an hour or so away from Gander, so it's a nice way to end off this last leg of the trip.
We should back our machines in down here and get a picture of them with the water.
You can see in the background there's probably about 7 side-by-sides or so that showed up at the pub when we were there. So we decided to make sure we get up on the trail before they did. We travel faster than those guys. We didn't want to get stuck behind them. We get stuck behind them a little earlier. They have a Kubota in their group, and it's very limited to what it can do for anything kind of off-road. So whenever they were hitting whoops and stuff, they were only going about 15 kilometers an hour or so. The last 15 or 20 kilometers or so on the way to Gander is like this. It's almost all straightaways, and the sun was trying to peek out and it dried up, so it made for a really good run for the last little bit before we got to Gander.
Oh man, I hope it's sunny now for the rest of the week. Man, I got a bit of a nose shot there.
Where we're at right now, we're actually in Gander. This is actually still considered the trailway, even though it's a paved section. We just went past Walmart and a bunch of stores, and now we're on our way to our motel. Once we got to the hotel, we checked in, dragged all of our gear inside. I think everybody got cleaned up, and then we went down to the restaurant, which was next door, Jungle Jim's, and had a bite to eat. And everybody was pretty low key that night. And then went to bed, and we hit the trail again early the next morning.